You wanted Jordan Love? Yeah, spoiler alert. Love stinks. The Green Bay Packers are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. You wanted Jordan Love? Yeah, spoiler alert. Love stinks. The Green Bay Packers are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
What the hell? It's starting already.
Here we go.
Let me talk to him. Let me talk to him.
Welcome to the Matt Schneidman Show.
That's a guy who is an intriguing one because he was an undrafted free agent.
Follow Matt on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Schneidman.
This is good stuff.
Or use the talk and text line at 1-414-799-1973.
If he can carry over what he's done in practice to games, then maybe we could start talking about, okay, Packers might have something here.
Now with Doug Russell, here's Matt Schneidman on the game.
Doug, how long have you had that Adam Shine sound sitting in the holster?
Oh, I've been having it's been in the holster for a while. It's been in the holster. That particular soundbite was first uttered by Adam Shine in April after Aaron Rodgers was traded. So sometimes we just keep things in our back pockets. As Aaron Jones told us last night, we keep receipts.
Aaron Jones keeps receipts. He hopes Jordan Love does too. I thought that was going to be the Adam Shine soundbite from training camp when he
Oh, I've got that one too.
cited my, I guess, daily training camp report saying the offense had lost a certain number of competition periods. Listen, Adam Shine's a very nice guy, fellow Syracuse grad. I'm not going to tweet out that clip because it will make me seem like a Jordan Love fanboy when all I am is an objective reporter. But I do get a little bit of a chuckle about how declarative someone can be that someone is not good, terrible at football when they haven't started their second career game yet.
Yeah.
And as we all know, Jordan Love is pretty damn good at football. That's what he has proven to us. He is not only a starting quarterback in the NFL, he is a franchise quarterback. He is future MVP material. Now, yesterday wasn't all about Jordan Love, and we're going to break down everything from yesterday's game. We're going to get to a little bit of news out of today from Matt LaFleur. We're going to look ahead to the Cowboys hosting the Packers. But it starts and ends with the quarterback in football, and it starts and ends with Jordan Love in Green Bay. First 3 games of the season, I got on this show that I'm so grateful to have with you, Doug, and said, man, I wonder what Jordan Love's contract extension is going to look like come week 8, week 9. Then the next couple weeks happened, and we said, okay, so is it Caleb Williams, Drake May? Who's it going to be at number 3 or number 4 or number 5? And they win 3 games.
Yeah. Do they go wide receiver at number 3 or number 4 or number 5?
Exactly.
Or do they just, play through the pain of what the entirety of year 1 is going to be?
Then they win 3 games. Now we're saying, okay, this is a playoff team. Then they lose 2. And the roller coaster goes back down. And we say, well, they're in no man's land now. Now they're screwed. But then they win 3. Now they're back in the playoffs. And guess what? Jordan Love delivered in all 3 games. Yes, the Packers only scored 17 points yesterday. But Jordan Love went 27 of 32 for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns against a team who had won 5 out of the last 7 games, against a team who is considered your arch rival, against a team who has been salivating to take ownership of its own franchise back after the big bad man Aaron Rodgers left. Well, didn't work. Jordan Love just retained ownership in Green Bay. It was transferred over. He's been tremendous the second half of the season. You can make an argument no quarterback in the NFL has been better. I understand he's 3rd in EPA per dropback. I want to look at the updated touchdown to interception numbers because Dak Prescott did throw an interception yesterday. I don't know if it put him below Jordan Love, but we're sitting here on January 8th, and we can say that Jordan Love might have been the best quarterback in the NFL the second half of the season, the last 8 games when the Packers went 6-2, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. You can't definitively, this is a better way to put it. You cannot definitively say X quarterback was better than Jordan Love. Not definitively. You can make an argument.
True.
Prescott, Purdy, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You can't definitively say any of them was better than Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur said last night, I don't think there are many questions left about this guy. The moment that I saw right after Jordan Love took his final kneel, where Matt LaFleur ran what had to be the fastest 40-yard dash he's ever run from the sideline to Jordan Love on the field and embracing him. And I joked Love might be on the injury report with a ribs injury, not because of the 1 sack he took, but because of how hard LaFleur hugged him. There was a deeper meaning to that moment than just winning the game to make the playoffs. I asked Love about it after the game, and he said he'll never forget that moment for the rest of his life. LaFleur expanded about how it wasn't just about Sunday's game. It was about a first-round pick who came into an unenviable situation, had to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, did everything right behind the scenes, has led this team admirably for a 25-year-old in his first season as the full-time starter. So that hug right there Evan Siegel, the legendary Packers team photographer, captured the moment in a still frame. I haven't seen the video anywhere yet. I don't know if anyone knew LaFleur was going to sprint onto the field. LaFleur did actually say he wasn't that fast, but I'm going to give him some credit. That moment was about the last 3 years. It wasn't just about this playoff berth. This is a head coach and quarterback who are going to be a dangerous partnership for years to come. And as much as Jordan Love had something to prove this season, Matt LaFleur did too. He'll never say it publicly. But there was a narrative, and I bet you it was in the back of his mind too, that he was a head coach who just mooched off of Aaron Rodgers entering this season. He couldn't do it with Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers gave him his name. Sorry to people who thought that too, because that's clearly not entirely true either.
No, and even Aaron Rodgers acknowledged that part of what made him an MVP again late in his career in back-to-back seasons was Matt LaFleur. And, you know, you want to go back into the annals of Packers history. I mean, you had Lombardi and Starr, you had Holmgren and Favre, you had McCarthy and Rodgers. Now are we seeing LaFleur and Love? I don't know, maybe. The early returns are really good. And maybe I'm the one who's pumping the brakes or, exerting some sort of caution here after one season. It's an incredible half season. I mean, like you said, you can't definitively say that Jordan Love wasn't the best quarterback in the NFL playing at an MVP level the second half of the season. What he did was incredible. I'm sold on him. I think that he's the franchise quarterback. I don't need to see anything else. For me, everything, and we were talking about it last week, that even if they didn't win against the Bears, I would have considered this season a success. Right now, going into the Cowboys playoff game, I look at this season as everything that happens beyond what has already taken place is just icing on the cake and gravy. I know they'll never, talk about that or saying that we're here to win. We're here to win a championship. We're in the tournament. We're in the playoffs. We're here to, get as far as we can get. To me, so many questions have been answered about this team, how they feel about their head coach, how they feel about their quarterback, the leadership that he's exerted, the talent that he has, the demeanor that he carries himself with. He is a franchise quarterback. And, to put him in a gold jacket, I think is putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
But
I'd say.
But I think, but that there are going to be some that, Favre was a Hall of Famer. Rodgers was a Hall of Famer. This is the third one in a row. Everybody just relax. Let him have a career.
Ease.
Yeah, just pump the brakes just a little. Let him not only enjoy the success that he's had, but I think that he's going to build upon that, and he'll get there in time. So everything that he's done, everything that he will continue, in my mind, I believe that he will do. I mean, to have that position taken care of, and I believe that it is taken care of, that puts you ahead of every other team that's still searching for a quarterback, and even if there are questions about the quarterback, even if you think you have a good quarterback, like the Bears feel like they have a good quarterback in Justin Fields. Apparently, Ryan Poles has already made his decision that Justin Fields is going to be the guy moving forward. Okay. They've said the same thing about
he?
that was the rumor yesterday that was put out. So now whether or not that's going to be, if that's going to bear fruit, I can't tell you. Obviously, they've got the number one pick from the trade with Carolina. And same questions that have been said about Kyler Murray and Arizona, for example. They say, well, Kyler Murray's our guy moving forward, whereas there was a thought that maybe they wanted to move in a different direction with another quarterback, and there are other teams that are still searching for that guy, or maybe there are questions about that guy. There's no question about that in Green Bay right now, or at least anymore. Maybe there was at the beginning of the season, but to have that taken care of, oh my God, going into the 2024 offseason, that is a load off of every Packers fan's mind.
Oh, without a doubt. And I'd like to correct my earlier misspeak. It was since week 11 that Jordan Love had 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. That was the last 8 games of the season, not since week 9. From week 9 to week 18, Jordan Love is first in the NFL in touchdown to interception ratio with 21 touchdowns passing and 3 interceptions. Dak Prescott second with 26 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Regardless, pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Let's get off of Jordan Love. We could talk about him all day. This Aaron Jones guy, he's still got it.
Yeah, he does.
Still got it. Packers didn't have a 14, or I should say, Packers didn't have a 100-yard rusher for the first 14 games of the season. Aaron Jones goes for 21 rushes and 127 yards in Carolina, 20 rushes for 120 yards in Minnesota, 21 rushes for 111 yards yesterday. Over 110 yards in each game. He was 9 yards shy of becoming the first Packer ever to run for 120 yards in 3 consecutive games. I saw someone on Twitter say, well, now we can't question LaFleur when he keeps Jones on a limited snap count the first 14 games because, he's fresh now. He was obviously banged up, but that is a silver lining that he has his legs under him now. Sure, he's a grandpa in running back years, but forget all the numbers. The offense just looks more explosive. He just runs more explosively. And we already knew that. We already knew he's more explosive than A.J. Dillon. And that's no knock on Dillon. He's built differently. He still serves a purpose in this offense. Packers need him as their number 2, kind of a change of pace back, get those tough yards, which Jones can do too. That's a misconception about him just because he's built differently that he can't get the yards after contact per rush. A.J. Dillon is a serviceable number 2, but Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league, still at age 29. The last 3 games of the season have showed that. He should undoubtedly be back next season. They might have to finagle some stuff with his contract. But I was talking about this with Kuhn today. It might have been on 9 to noon or when John and I... No, it was on 9 to noon when I was on with the fellas. Aaron Jones shouldn't have to take a pay cut. Especially when the Packers' top 8 pass catchers, 6 receivers, and 2 tight ends are all on rookie contracts still. Give Aaron Jones what he's due. That guy, forget everything he does off the field and how well he carries the G. On the field, he's a stud still.
I mean, the Packers offense just operates at a different level when he's in there and he's healthy. Absolutely, he should be back. I'm not concerned about, what his cap hit is going to be. You outlined one of the big reasons for the top 6 pass catchers are all still on their first contracts. I mean, some of the money from the cap hit that they took this year from all the players that are no longer Packers, specifically the former quarterback, a lot of that money's coming off the books. So they'll have a little bit more to play with. Take care of who you have to take care of. Number 33 is a guy that you need to take care of because we've seen how much better this offense is when he's in there and able to make those explosive plays. He talked about his leadership in the locker room after the game last night as well. And he was questioning himself when there were some tough times. Am I leading this team the right way? Well, I think he's answered that question as well. He wasn't physically able to go for a while, which is a shame because they just operate so much better. And I think that Jordan Love has a comfortability factor when Aaron Jones is in the game, even if he's not, part of necessarily the play. He's always, just someone who's a resource for everyone on that team because he's got the most experience on that team. Take care of Aaron Jones. Bring him back. He has to be back next year.
I have a story coming out on The Athletic tomorrow morning about this receiving core and about how Packers are set for the present and for the future in that room. We always do our 53-man roster projections around training camp. It's one of the stories that gets read the most on The Athletic because people love projections. They love all that kind of stuff. I don't need to worry about who the 6 receivers I'm going to predict to make next year's 53-man roster are because they're already on this roster. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Malik Heath, Bo Melton. There you go. That's 6.
Easy.
I mean, there are a couple things that are most impressive here. The supposed number 1 receiver entering the season has missed 8 games. We'll get to that in a little bit. Romeo Doubs misses most of the game because he's coughing up blood yesterday. Matt LaFleur, and that's a little bit of news. Matt LaFleur said he went to the hospital during the game yesterday, was back in the locker room by the end of the game, and he's day-to-day. So thankfully, Romeo Doubs is okay. I know John Kuhn did say on the broadcast he was coughing up blood, which I did not know at the time. He was riding the bike, so I'm not sure if he knew what was going on. So that'll be one to watch. Jaden Reed has missed a game and change late in the season. Wicks has missed a game and change. And it's not like there's a veteran to just step in, fill a quick void. It's not like there's a veteran to show them the ropes. You can call Watson and Dobbs veterans. They're in their second year.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah.
Brian Gutekunst made a point when he I shouldn't say shipped out, chose to not re-sign Robert Tonyan, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mason Crosby, Adrian Amos when he traded Aaron Rodgers. There was going to be a shift in the identity, mainly of this offense. And that identity shift did not include, Mercedes Lewis. That identity shift did not include veteran tight ends or veteran wide receivers. And all throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, I always got questions, and fairly so. Are they going to add a veteran? Are they going to add a guy? Someone to show everyone the ropes? And I said, if they're not doing it yet, I don't know if they will, because you don't want to take away valuable reps from these guys. And boy, it hasn't just been, and Doug, I remember saying at the beginning of the season, this is going to be trial by fire. This season, for the offense at least, was about building a foundation for beyond 2023. And if they could win now and produce now, that was an added bonus. Produce now, have they ever? Man, they have compensated for the loss of Watson, who is a concerning one because you got to get his hamstring right. Not just for this Cowboys game. He's missed 5 straight games. I would imagine he was close to playing based on what we heard early in the week. So you would think he plays against the Cowboys. Who knows? He has to get that fixed, not only for now, but for his long-term health and his long-term career. But with Dobbs out, Wicks, Reed, someone else just steps up, whether it's Malik Heath, whether it's Bo Melton coming out of nowhere. It's incredible, really. And the Packers, like I said, are set up for not only the present, but the future in this wide receiver room. And as our own Wayne Larrivee said on the radio broadcast last night, the future is now. And there is no better position group, obviously quarterback does, but there is no better position group beside quarterback that illustrates that better than the wide receiver group. And I want to pose you this question, Doug. When all the wide receivers are healthy, based on what we've seen, who do you think is the best? My answer is Jaden Reed.
It might be. I can't argue with that. Part of me still wants to say Christian Watson, but he's never healthy. You want to see him healthy. Jaden Reed's an amazing talent. And, we saw some of it. I keep going back to last season when he was at Michigan State, how he just decimated the Badgers, scoring 3 touchdowns, including in double overtime. Poor Ricardo Hallman. He's had an amazing rookie season.
That still haunts you, doesn't it? That's not the first time you've brought that up.
It's not. And it's also because I cover the Badgers and I'm in Madison quite a bit. So it's that's part of it. And Ricardo Hallman lost his starting job because of that game, because of Jaden Reed. Now he got it back. And Ricardo Hallman arguably was the best player on the Badgers defense this past season. So, it left a mark. We'll put it that way. But again, when they're all healthy, that's the caveat. I can't argue that it's not Reed. I still think that what I've seen from Watson is just something different than what Reed has, but
that's fair.
I can't argue with it. Reed's been just a revelation this season.
One of the more inspirational things to come out of yesterday's game that makes you think, man, maybe there is something more going on in this world than just what's going on here on the football field. Dontavian Wicks, if you remember, 3 Virginia football players were shot and killed in late 2022 on campus. One of them, Lavelle Davis Jr., was a fellow wide receiver with Wicks at Virginia. And so Wicks goes out there, has 2 touchdowns. The Packers only 2 touchdowns in a winner-go-home game. 6 catches for 61 yards. He's come on nicely in the second half of the season. First touchdown, he looks up to the sky. Second, he goes back to the sideline and cries. Yesterday would have been Lavelle Davis Jr.'s 22nd birthday.
Wow.
And Dontavian Wicks goes out there and has the most important game of his young NFL career as a rookie 5th-round pick. Stuff just means more, man. Yeah. And Wicks said after the game, he played with a heavy heart. And man, Lavelle Davis Jr. sure would be proud if he was there to watch. Hey, he might have been watching him. Who knows what you believe in, but you could tell, looking back on it, that Wicks played with a little extra. And man, he sure made his late friend proud.
Football players and football teams are so close. And another one of those players was Devin Chandler, who started his career at the University of Wisconsin. And so we got to see him play until he transferred to Virginia. And the morning that story came out, the Badgers were supposed to have media availability. And obviously it was canceled. I was in Madison for that, kind of standing outside the Dave McClain Center, the football facility in Madison, and we got word of it just kind of scrolling through our phones. And then, Athletics Communications came out and said, yeah, there's nothing here today. And when we did finally get into the facility and talk to some of the players, you could just see it on their faces. This was their brother. And so that tragedy has ripple effects throughout the entire game. Anyone who's ever, been in a locker room with any of those three young men, they feel it. And yeah, I think that, it puts everything into perspective to a certain aspect. And, your heart goes out to all of these kids who, you're not supposed to see your best friends get wiped out in a hiccup like that at the age of 22. So yeah, I'm sure he was dependent upon what you believe in him, and I would like to believe in a higher power. So I would like to think that he was looking down and smiling. Absolutely.
Here's what Wicks said after the game yesterday. He said, man, I had a heavy heart coming into the day, but I knew he'd be playing through me when I'm out there. It just gave me that motivation, the extra chip on my shoulder to go out and make big plays. To celebrate his birthday and making it to the playoffs, it was a 2-for-1.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're supposed to be objective, but you can't help but feel for a guy like that. You can't help but
you can be objective, but you can also be human too.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So good for Dontavian Wicks. The Packers punched their ticket to the playoffs, in large part thanks to him. Bo Melton, another 5 catches for 62 yards. Where the heck has this guy come from? He had no catches for no yards in his career entering the Week 15 game against the Buccaneers. In the last 4 games, he has 16 catches for 218 and a touchdown. Last 2 weeks, obviously, he has the huge game in Minnesota with over 100 yards. 5 for 62. Almost, perhaps the play of the season, when Jordan Love absolutely threads the needle to him in the end zone and Melton just can't come down with it. Wouldn't even consider that a drop. That's a really hard catch to make. But he's come on nicely. Jaden Reed had 4 catches for 112 yards. It was funny after the game on that 59-yard catch and run where Love kind of lobs it to him over the sideline. Then Reed cuts across the field. I don't remember if it was Eddie Jackson who he was trying to outrun, but Reed got caught from behind. I never thought he had an angle to score, but Reed said he did 10 push-ups when he got back to the sideline because he was so disappointed that he got caught from behind and didn't score.
I like that, though.
Tucker Kraft with 3 for 31, including a huge one to seal the game when Love kind of threw it kind of across his body on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 for 15 yards there late in the 4th quarter. Luke Musgrave got in the game for the first time since his kidney laceration in Week 11. Only had 1 catch for 11 yards. Matt LaFleur said today they didn't really know he'd be playing until Friday, but they were glad he could just get 1 catch, take a hit, get up, and be okay, because that's something to build on.
Yeah.
So a really complete effort. Nobody besides Aaron Jones and Bo Melton got carries. Patrick Taylor did not get a carry. We'll see if Aaron Jones can keep up that workman-like workload. That's repetitive. I was trying to figure out another word to use there. But that yeoman's workload, there we go. Or if they're going to need A.J. Dillon back, who obviously missed this game with a stinger. A.J. Dillon's banged up. Got a thumb that's healing from being broken. I don't know how long the break is actually lasts for. And he's dealing with a neck injury. So is he going to be back to take some of the workload off Jones? Either way, you got to keep feeding Aaron Jones. This isn't save him for the rest of the season, save him for games down the line. You got to keep giving this guy at least 20 carries because of how productive he's been. 6 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry the last 3 games. There's a reason he ranks I don't know what he is now, but he's either tied for 5th or tied for 6th in NFL history among running backs in yards per carry.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that high. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good for him. I know that.
I'm going to get you an exact number right now.
Okay. I know that Aaron Jones right now is 3rd on the all-time Packers rushing list.
Aaron Jones, among running backs, he is tied for 10th all-time in yards per attempt overall. Among running backs, let's see who's above him. Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Lamar Jackson. So 1, 2, 3, 4, tied for 6th all-time. Behind Mercury Morris, Jim Brown, Nick Chubb, Jamal Charles, and Marion Motley.
Some decent names in there.
Yeah. Very decent.
Yeah, no kidding. That's amazing. I mean, look, and when the playoffs roll around, you know how it is. Sometimes if it's something that might keep you out, or if you're truly questionable, not leaning one way or the other, that's the playoffs. More often than not, you'll see guys kind of maybe suck it up just a little bit more than they would during the regular season because everything's on the line. I mean, there is no tomorrow. Tomorrow is not a promise to, I mean, now that the 18 games or the 18 weeks, 17 games have been played, you know what? Nobody backed into the playoffs this year. Put it that way. Everybody's there for a reason.
Without a doubt. We got to get to our first break. On the other side, we're going to talk about that bad man, at least in the last 2 weeks, Joe Barry.
Hey,
is
defense came to play.
Is he inching closer toward keeping his job, or is his fate already decided? We'll let you know what Preston Smith said about him. That might not bode too well for those who don't want Joe Barry around. We're going to touch on that and plenty more about the upcoming matchup against the Cowboys right after the break here on the Matt Schneidman Show on The Game.
Here, then make 'em bounce like a basketball. Like you, make me wanna act like a girl, paint my nails and wear high heels. Yes, you make me so nervous and I just can't hold your hand. You make me glow.
Let's go. Now through January 21st, when you buy $50 or more of Iron Jock Performance Apparel, take 25% off everything in your cart with promo code FITNESS25. And you'll also get a free Iron Jock script baseball cap. It'll automatically be added in your cart, and you get to choose which version of the cap you want. Go to ironjock.com for details. That's ironjoc.com. Doug, I teased it before the break a little bit. I'll say this. I still think Joe Barry is not retained as Packers defensive coordinator as it currently stands after the season. Matt LaFleur is not dumb. You don't get to be an NFL head coach if you're dumb. And he will not let two standout games cloud his judgment of the bigger picture. And what the bigger picture is 3 years of largely mediocre defensive play. I think we can acknowledge two things at once. We can acknowledge that Joe Barry probably doesn't deserve to stay as Packers defensive coordinator past this season as it currently stands. But we can also acknowledge that he's called two fantastic games the last 2 weeks with the Packers' backs up against the wall. Joe Barry just looked like a different guy. Not disheveled, but disheartened the last couple weeks at the podium when he's talked to us every Thursday. Now you have players coming out in their post-game media scrums saying, Kenny Clark, Joe B dialed up some great blitzes. Preston Smith, who played for Joe Barry in Washington, probably knows him better than anyone on this team, said yesterday, I know Joe's taking a lot of hell in the media. We play for Joe B. How about that? We've been wondering all season what the real feeling about Joe Barry is inside that defensive meeting room. One of the defense's leaders just said, we play for Joe B. I know a lot of people online are like, oh, here we go. He's staying. LaFleur's going to keep him based off the what have you done for me lately perception, and the players are getting on his back. I think we can acknowledge that it's nice for Packer fans to see the players gathering behind their defensive coordinator and playing well when it matters most, and just appreciate that in the moment instead of worrying about what happens in the future. Listen, if the Packers defense plays well and they win 2-3 more games, Joe Barry might stay. But they could also give up 40 points to the Cowboys. He could be gone a week from today.
Sure.
We don't know. Anything can happen. And that's why I'm saying for Packer fans, and I know it's not easy because I know I'm a very, panicked Yankee fan at times. So it's the pot calling the kettle black here. Just enjoy the moment. Enjoy Joe Barry calling 2 good games the last 2 games. 9 sacks the last 2 games. 9 different players have at least a sack. He's called some good pressures. Players have executed too. Just appreciate it.
Yeah, without a doubt. The question, well, I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Number one, and I think this is maybe the most obvious question. Yes, absolutely acknowledge the last 2 games, especially the game against the week 18 against the Bears. 5 different guys with 5 sacks on Justin Fields. Amazing. Dialed up blitzes. They couldn't convert a 3rd down. Amazing performance. What about the other 15 games of the season where it was more passive, when it wasn't as dialed up? What about why the urgency now as opposed to before? I guess that's
better late than never, huh?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, better late than never. And if the Packers go on to win the Super Bowl because of Joe Barry's defense, hey, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, nor should I think any Packers fan listening to the sound of either one of our voices should complain about that. It would be, championship number 14. Let's go. Super Bowl win number 5. Let's go. That would be awesome. That having been said, there's still a faction of fans that want him gone no matter what. It's the hashtag Fire Capers crowd, right? Whereas, don't forget, Dom Capers was the defensive coordinator the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl, but that's conveniently forgotten.
And we have to give credit to not only Joe Barry, but the players for executing, just as we gave the blame to Joe Barry and the players when they weren't executing. You mentioned, or no, I think it was Drew who mentioned, oh yeah, it was in my crossover hit with Drew and KB. when we were talking about game balls that wouldn't go to Jordan Love or Dontavian Wicks. I said Aaron Jones. Drew said Carl Brooks. Lucas Van Ness had a sack. Keyshawn Nixon, Isaiah McDuffie, Quay Walker, Kenny Clark, they've all gotten on the sack sheet the last couple games. Kingsley and Agbari, Devontae Wyatt. I mean, these guys are making plays. And can they do it again against a team that's gone 8-0 at home? Against the number one scoring offense in the NFL, I believe? It's going to be their toughest task yet. I'll tell you who this game might come down to. Jair Alexander. One of the toughest tests of his career coming up, given the stakes and the matchup. CeeDee Lamb, been one of the best receivers in the NFL this season. Side note, did you see that video of
I was
Jair
going to say,
Alexander?
it was a nice cameo that Jair made.
My goodness. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. Here's my quick 2 cents on that, because that was hilarious. It is hysterical, first and foremost.
Yes.
A lot of people are getting their underpants in a bunch about the reporter not knowing Jair was a fan. And I say not knowing in quotes. She takes one glance to her left. She's in the middle of a live hit.
Yeah.
She's a news reporter. Cut her some slack. Everyone relax.
Agreed. That was, if you've ever done live television, I know you have, I have as well. I mean, you're concentrating on the camera that's in front of you. It's that guy right there. If you're watching the stream, I'm pointing right at the camera. That's your only, you don't have, sometimes you have a monitor, sometimes you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You can sense sometimes when there's people around you. You're not looking at them. And like you said, this is a young news reporter, and just somebody came up upon her. It happened to be Jair Alexander. I think her name is Emily. I'm not sure what her last name is. She did a fine job. Everybody
Emily Roberts, I believe.
Emily Roberts. Give Emily Roberts some slack here. Everybody, like you said, just chill out. She did her job and she did it well. Everybody relax.
Yes. And guess what? She might have very well known who Jair Alexander was. I've never met Emily Roberts in my life. She seems like a very nice woman from other people I have talked to who work at that station. Honestly, you can just quick glance to the left, focus on the camera. You might not even see who it is. She might not have even seen who it was. He's wearing a hood and a hat. Then he quickly puts on the sunglasses. Bottom line is, it's absolutely hilarious. The thing that gets me in that video is when Jair says, "I'm just here to tell you." Then, I mean, first of all, what is Jair doing outside the pro shop?
I have no idea.
That was my biggest question.
Well, the only thing that I can compare it to is Super Bowl 46. Giants against the Patriots at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I was working for Yahoo Sports Radio at the time. My job was to try to get anybody from the New York Giants on live on one of our shows. I'm on the 40-yard line as the confetti is falling down. I see out of the corner of my eye somebody wearing a blue jersey, and it was mildly recognizable, but you don't clock it because you just kind of see him out of the corner of your eye. And before I know it, he's upon me giving me a bear hug. And it was in that split second that I realized I'm being bear hugged by Flavor Flav. And then he's off to somebody else.
Not a player.
Not a player.
No.
A rapper.
Yes.
Wearing a clock.
Yes.
And then he was off to somebody else. I've had people say, picture or it didn't happen. There was no time for a picture.
Yeah.
It was hug and out. Came up to me and said, "Boy, we did it." And I'm like, what?
He said what? He said what did he say?
"Boy, we did it." And I'm like, I'm not even wearing blue. I'm in a taupe suit. And here's this guy. It was a fun, listen, it was.
I didn't know Flavor Flav was a Giants fan.
Neither did I until that exact moment.
My point is, after all that, is that Jair Alexander is going to need to have a good game. I haven't watched the All-22 yet or looked at the numbers, but didn't seem like they tested him much. DJ Moore, quiet again. I think he had 4 catches for 64 yards, which on the surface is like, okay, decent day. 33 of those came when the Bears schemed him up nice against Quay Walker. Got him on Quay Walker. I don't know if they ran a pick route, but it was like a shallow crosser. Quay didn't stand a chance, and he went for 33 yards. So Packers have really... Listen, you can say, oh, it's the Bears. Oh, it's the Vikings with Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. But we said in weeks prior... the Packers haven't done what they need to do against inferior offenses. Well, now they have done what they needed to do on defense, so we have to give them credit. We got someone on the line, and I have a feeling I know who it is.
Oh, I don't think you do.
No, it's not Mo from Illinois.
It is not. I think he's waiting for his shot.
Got?
I think he's waiting for his shot tomorrow.
Yeah,
because you said that he could open up.
Show
yeah, he can open up the show tomorrow. This is Matt in Brookfield, and he's got a differing viewpoint.
Matt and Brookfield, differing viewpoint. We always welcome those. What do we got?
I just really disagree that the last two games, and even the last three games, the Packers defense played that well. They gave up 30 points to the worst team in the league. The Vikings were down to their third and number 4 quarterbacks, pathetic quarterbacks. Against the Bears, after the first couple series, the 2 starting offensive linemen of the Bears were out. The center didn't start the game, and they lost their guard. I mean...
So if they didn't play well, what was it? Did they play poorly? Because they certainly didn't play poorly.
The poor opponents.
Yeah, but we can't keep moving the goalposts. We can't say, oh, they played poorly against poor opponents like Tommy DeVito and Bryce Young, but then when they play well against poor opponents, we can't just be like, oh, well, it's poor opponents. We can't keep moving the goalposts. I just said, sure. Did they shut down the Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens? No. But they deserve a couple flowers, maybe not the whole bouquet. But they deserve a couple flowers for what they did. Matt, they only gave up 1 touchdown combined in the last 2 games, and it was because the Vikings only had 7 yards to go after a muffed punt. I don't care who you're playing. That's good. Yes. Is it the most telling stat that they played well the last 2 games? No. So I'm with you on that. But I don't think we should completely discredit it because of how bad they were the 3 games before that.
The Cowboys are going to score 35 points. The question is whether or not the offense can somehow outscore them.
I don't think you're crazy in saying that. I'm predicting 31-28 Packers, but part of the reason I'm only picking Cowboys to score 28 is because I just have a feeling Dak is going to give one to him like he did twice last year. So, yeah, you're totally well within your right. You're within your right to do anything, but I think you're reasonable in saying that fans are not in the clear. The Packers are not in the clear with regards to this defense, without a doubt. Fans should still be wary of this defense, especially going up against the Cowboys. That's fine to say. But as I was saying earlier, it's okay to appreciate what they've done the last 2 games while also saying, oh, I'm still not so confident going into Dallas. Appreciate your call, Matt. And you bring up a good point. That's fine. I'm totally fine with differing viewpoints at what it enhances the show. I'm totally fine with people disagreeing. I just think that we can't completely disregard how the Packers have played defensively the last 2 games just because they played poor opponents.
No, they were playing a hot team. I know that it was more on the defensive side in Chicago than it was on the offensive side, but this was also a team that had really keyed up on trying to win their Super Bowl. And just the defense played well. It was aggressive. Justin Fields, like we've been talking about, got sacked 5 times by 5 different guys. That's an amazing. You look at the third down percentage that they had, they couldn't convert a third down. Every time that you needed the Packers to do something defensively, they did. And like you said, I don't have a problem with you playing well against an opponent that doesn't have a great offense, because they played poorly against teams that have had lousy offenses. And I think this is going to be, how I feel about predictions, obviously. We said it a million times. I look at Dallas and I'm like, okay, they don't play well in the postseason historically, but they're a dangerous team, a really dangerous team. They've got playmakers on both sides of the ball. Everything that the Packers do from here on out, I consider just above and beyond what has already been an unbelievably, to me, successful season. And I'm looking forward to seeing what 2024 and beyond brings. But I'm enjoying the ride that we're all on right now, because who knows how far it can go.
To close out the show, I want to discuss one topic, and we'll obviously dive much deeper into the Packers-Cowboys matchup as the week progresses. I posed this question to John Kuhn on our podcast today, and you can listen to the Brick and the Stick wherever you have been listening to it this entire season,
including excerpts on Packers Game Day.
Yes. Mike McCarthy. How tight, that's probably not the best word to use. How puckered up is he having to face the Packers, knowing that the Packers could make him be unemployed for the second time?
I know.
In the last 5 years.
Well, you can make the argument that the Cardinals did it the first time because they were so terrible when they came into Lambeau and beat the Packers. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I would guess that if you put a lie detector onto Coach McCarthy, he would say that he would prefer a different opponent.
See, John disagreed.
Really?
You got to listen to the podcast
Listen, he
because I
played
was
for him. He knows
surprised.
him better than I do.
I didn't expect Kuhn to trash his longtime former head coach, his former longtime head coach.
Yeah.
But I was interested with what John says. So give the podcast a listen. But yeah, I just think there's that intangible aspect. Even after Aaron Rodgers left, this is still the team that fired you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want revenge, of course, but if he was in a better position, I think in Dallas, because they've had very good regular seasons, but they've had playoff failure after playoff failure. They haven't won a Super Bowl in a generation.
Right.
So I would think that if the pressure wasn't on him as much as I believe it is, he'd love the chance for revenge against the Packers. But I think he also knows that his seat, if it's not boiling hot after a loss against the Packers already, it might just be the one that pushes Jerry over the edge. Now, Jerry he doesn't have a history of, outside of Jimmy Johnson, he doesn't have a history of firing coaches willy-nilly. But he's also, as he says, not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And he wants that fourth ring pretty desperately because it's been a long, long time since he got the last one.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. I can't wait to get down to Dallas. I'm flying out there on Saturday morning. The game is in Arlington, not Dallas.
Dallas area.
But I am flying
the
into
Metroplex
the Dallas airport. Yes. It'll be a fascinating matchup. Jordan Love, one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. You have a shot in any game you're in if you have a quarterback that's playing like he is. Can the Packers keep up with the Cowboys in a shootout? If they win the toss, will they receive and try and make a statement like they did against the Lions to really set the tone of the game? Can they get a game-changing turnover like they did against the Lions? I told Kuhn today, I said, just follow the script against the Lions. Take the ball, long drive to go score 7, get a defensive touchdown. Easy. It's easy.
It's easy. Or are they going to have 2 Love Fields in Dallas?
There you go.
The airport and Jerry World, if Jordan takes over. Who knows?
There you go. It'll be fascinating to see. We want to hear your predictions all week. You can always text or call the Talk and Text line. We welcome your texts and calls all week on the PellaWI.com Talk and Text line. 414-799-1973. Tomorrow, we got the voice of the Packers, Wayne Larrivee. I want to know where that call last night ranks in some of his favorites, because there's a clip circulating on Twitter of Wayne's final call when he ends it with, or the clip ends with Wayne saying, "And the future is now," as Jordan Love walks off the field. Great call. I would expect nothing less of Wayne. We will talk to him on tomorrow's show.
Did you also hear the Dagger duet?
I did. Larry was getting into it.
Yes, he was. I love the Dagger duet.
Oh, Larry was getting into it.
We'll hear some of that throughout the week, too.
We'll hear some of that throughout the week. Until tomorrow, he's been Doug. I've been Matt. Packers off tomorrow. Everyone stay safe in the snow if you're around here in Wisconsin. We will still have a show. Whether I'm able to get to the studio, we will see. But we'll have a show. So we'll talk to you then. We appreciate everyone for listening, as always.
I'll be your teacher. I'll show you